This man compared himself to Jackie Robinson in an article where he's claiming Band-Aids are racist. And but they're just a small problem, but he's playing a white man's game in a white man's Band-Aid. I wouldn't call Anderson Jackie. I'd call him Band-Aid or Karen. He thinks, or they think, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's got pronoun problems too. His purpose in life is to be a racism hunter. Racism and victimhood hunting are the new path to stardom. It's Star Trek. Race, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the racism enterprise. Its Black Lives Matter mission to explore strange, inconsequential interactions, to seek out new racism and victimhood, to boldly go where no real man has gone before. Are we that fragile? Are Black athletes and this generation of 40 and below Black, are we seen as that fragile that we have to be handled with kid gloves to this level? I hope that that's not the case, but that does seem like where we're headed.
Well, look, that's the new standard that's been set by everybody. As relates to his teammates, in situations like this, what I have noticed, Jason, is that this then becomes the oppression Olympics, and you're almost bound to defend the teammate, especially if he's a minority, and because you want to get points. You want to get social justice points. You want to have that equity, and then you want to be invited to the cookout, and then you want to be known as an ally. And it's ridiculous. A lot of this is about show and tell. Like, see, I defended the guy. I got his back.
There's just a level of respect in that. I'm not talking about over-reference. Dwayne Haskins lived a life. He lived an entire life. His life isn't minimized to struggling at Washington and struggling in Pittsburgh, which, by the way, he was still with Pittsburgh. He still had an opportunity to have a long career in Pittsburgh. His life isn't minimized to bad decisions at the end. Now, should they not be mentioned? I don't say they shouldn't be mentioned.
So Dwayne Haskins' actions not only endangered himself, he put other people in harm's way and potentially put scars on people. And there's nothing wrong with talking about that, respecting the fact he was a young guy and it is tragic, but there are things we can learn from this so that we don't make the same mistakes Dwayne Haskins made.
If we don't have honest elections, what's the point? It's supposed to be a government by the people, for the people. And if the elections aren't honest, and again, I can't comment on whether they were or not. I'm not doing the research. I know there are people that are. And if she voted for Trump, I don't know. That's not my call. Having said that this is supposed to be a free country where you can say what you do. You can peacefully protest. You have the right to your opinion, even if it's one I don't agree with. And again, we're in real jeopardy of losing all those things, and that's a little bit scary. It's what many of our forefathers fought for, either actually in the wars or battling it here at home. And I don't know. You think of George Washington. They'll probably drag him down through the mud at some point in time too. But that guy could have been the king of America. Turned it down because he believed that the process is supposed to be for the people, by the people, and not about a king. And I think that type of leadership is the leadership we could use now.
The evil that we see as parents, and I can't speak for all parents now, but parents who are godly, faithful, and are trying to live kind of like my wife and I, we see the killing of our kids not just in these mass shootings, but in the killing of all the innocence that children are supposed to have. I grew up with, Bugs Bunny, cartoons and things of that nature. We knew that was fantasy. We knew I'm not trying to shoot anybody like Bugs. It was playful. But I also grew up playing with kids in my neighborhood. I grew up where I knew my neighbors and my neighbors knew them. And we grew up in this kind of scenario where we were connected in relationship.
I just want to underline what Pastor Anthony was saying about fatherhood. One of the things that we have to remember is that that isn't just an option, it's the only option. If we're going to have liberty, if we're going to have freedom, if we're going to have safety, we have to have men who love their wives and who are good fathers in the same way that when Jesus was getting baptized, he was able to look at his son and say, "Look, my son in who I'm well pleased." And then the son looked back to the father and said, "Lord, you've loved me from the foundations of the world." And that type of reciprocal relationship breeds a type of people that love each other and love their neighbors and fight for their neighbors and even protect their neighbors. And it all starts with men who fear God, love their wives, love their children, and look at their children as an outpouring of the love between their wives and say, "I love you, son." And the children look back and say, "I love you, Dad." That generates a type of society that is a blessed society before God.
I sincerely, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I think it's one of the dumbest tweets that's ever been put out there. I think to in any way, hey, I know you guys are grieving about these 19 slaughtered children, but make time to think about what happened to George Floyd 2 years ago. It's the dumbest. It's clearly divisive. But I've already stated all that. What is Obama doing here? What's the agenda in your view?
Well, first off, there is nothing worse that I could think of than 19 kids being murdered at their elementary school. This is the result of a spiritual war that we are losing in grand fashion. And this is demonic possession at large.
One of the things that you have to have with a backup is a compatibility with the starter and the system that they run. Now, refresh my memory, because it's been a while since Colin Kunte actually played the game of football back on the NFL plantation, but wasn't his strength kind of playing out of a spread shotgun and using his legs and using things like the inside read or the read option and getting him out of the pocket? That's not really Derek Carr's game. Derek Carr at his best is a guy that could throw the ball on time, make some plays with his legs within the pocket by extending his time as a passer. I don't know. This is interesting. This is a move that certainly Mark Davis's father would have made because he was the renegade franchise about rehabilitating careers and extending careers and being an oasis or a refuge for cast-offs of the National Football League. I'm not really sure the Raiders are that organization anymore, but I'm interested to see it, believe it or not, Jason.
All these desires and ideas, and then that's who you should be, the person who stands up and does something when other people will not do. And we had a group of men who they were having those same dreams. These police officers, maybe they're 20-somethings. I bet a lot of those guys are 40. They're the generation before mine, where they should have had those same dreams. What do I do? How can I step in and save these kids? What's the way to do it? And if there's ever a time where you get to defy authority, it's to save fourth graders, right? Who are bleeding out inside when your head guy says, "Step back, he's barricaded." Yeah, he's barricaded inside a room with 21 dead people and 17 more injured that you won't let us go save. So that is, I will not demonize all of the police, but I have no sympathy for these guys. Every last one of them should be fired.
Jason, just looking at the picture, he looks like a runaway slave, a big buck that has been broken that ran off with Miss Millie. Like, I can just hear her saying, "Oh, come here, Ricky, you big black buck. Come give me some of that Mandingo loving. Oh my God, that gorilla loving, I just loves it." This sounds so beta. It sounds so bitch. And to say that you would do this to increase intimacy, I don't know about other women, but there is no way I would let a punk male put me in the book. You would not. This is crazy to me, Jason, and it's wrong on so many levels.